Hello. I guess this video is going to be a sort of ramble. I've made some notes to structure things, but it still has to diverge. I guess I'm gonna start with the inspiration for this. The inspiration for this video is sort of, well, there are multiple things coming together. I was talking to my cousin today about her struggles to find a job and things like that. And back in Ghana, I mean, because I'm from Ghana, and that's where she lives. And I was like, well, my uncle is a prophet of sorts. Like, he has visions, apparently he's done miracles, things like that. And I was like, well, if my uncle is in touch with something fundamental or something that is substantial or powerful, then he can probably get guidance to help her. And you could probably take her through life. And it was just because I also come from a similar background, because my mother has dreams that comes true sometimes. Well, typically, if the dreams are not nonsensical or something like that, if they're symbolic or if they're exacting or something. And it's just, you'd think with these experiences I'd have more certainty, or I'd have more of a commitment to the way of minding or the way of understanding that she's committed to. Some of it due to a lack of education, ignorance, limited experience of the world, and a limited consideration of life and people and how to mind things. And it just has me wondering, it's just so difficult because there are matrices of understandings and ignorance that make it difficult for people to orient, interpret, and reconcile themselves with life, and reconcile themselves with what they are, who they are, and where they're going. People can be closed off to fresh minding of themselves in the world. Sometimes I go with the suspension of attachment, value, and utility to get at different attachments, values, and uses that are possible. But this does not always serve me. Sometimes this leaves me in a state of, I guess, not so much stagnancy, but this sort of, not even so much uncertainty, maybe aporia, like this concept of you're stuck in a state where you just don't know where to move, you don't know where to go. It just feels like all options are available for you, and you're caught up in infinite possibility. At the same time, you feel incredibly constrained, you feel incredibly limited, where you're limited to just a few courses of action, and you're limited to following the drives that enter your conscious, deliberative awareness to make decisions and to continue on. And it's just frustrating. At best, it gives me more richness to how minding life can be. Still, I must take shelter in the ecology of what's important under the atmosphere of attention. I must track and examine animals and plants with perspectives to get their stylization of life in relation to each other and the ecology, and use these for my continuance. I just don't know how to do this. I don't know how to structure a coherent sense of reality. Or maybe the problem is with wanting coherence, because there are so many different regions that are interacting with each other, or that are separated from each other, or that are mediated to each other. There are all sorts of different states of isness, states of being, for things to be in relation to each other, or to be in non-relation to each other. It's just, within a sentence, you can't sum up everything. You can't say everything within a paragraph. You can't say everything within a book. So there's always more to say. And I think I feel split by the various influences I've had in life. I don't mind being eclectic, but I do wonder if all this exposure is like a person going to a buffet and gorging on different meals and stuff, but they don't figure out what suits their body. And that what perhaps costs the ecology that supplies the resources for their consumption and for the manufacturing of the goods or the tools to make the food and all of that possible, and whether they can compensate and benefit it. And I guess my allegiance is to the different types of wholes, or to the totality, or to the parts, or whether they're reconciling, nullifying, or returning to a source, or leaving a source, or setting up new configurations. The thing is, I can't disintegrate and maintain my integrity to speak on if there is an integrity or disintegration. There's always some schema, there's always some feature of experience and minding that supplies or overextends a metaphor, a simulation, a permeation, encapsulation of unity to speak on life. It's very presumptuous, but sometimes we can't help but mind this way, even if idiomatically. And this very much bothers me because I don't know. I guess that's where I keep ending up. There are things I know, but the things I know cancel it out for me to know other things. And the things that I don't know make it difficult for me to feel like I can know other things. And then there are also the difficulties with unknown unknowns that may be important, unknown unknowns that may be unimportant, or the known unknowns that may become important, and so on. Like, I can go on with a sort of totalizing optimism or holistic optimism that in the end everything will work out for everybody, or everything will work out for me, or everything will work out for those who follow the methods or procedures or a life course or live a particular unfolding for a life or personal becoming, the kind of identification they make, the kind of self they have that they maintain, the kind of relationships they maintain. Like, you can take a sort of hope towards that, but it's just I lost it. But it's just, do you actually know? Like sometimes I feel like to say it's not worth figuring out, I'll just do whatever comes natural to me, follow my impulses, follow my desires, go with the cultural programming, go with try to unfold my intuition and do what's best for me. Because in the end, you're still doing what's best for you. You're still trusting in you. Every matrix that you live in, every form of minding that you take on, every form of life that you take on, it's still dependent on some sort of trust. Even doubt has this feature of trusting that the operation of doubt is functional, or what it's lending to you is legitimate, or that it is warranted to doubt, or that it is worth taking seriously, like it is worth going with it and not trying to, not so much oppose it, but trying to transform it or sublimate it, or stay in it, or whatever states of activity you can take towards it to make something of it. So sometimes if I leave it alone, I feel like I'm acting like a person who's paralyzed and blind, like who's paralyzed and all their senses are shut off. They can't hear, they can't see, like they're completely cut off from the external world, and they're on the Titanic and it's sinking and they have no idea what's going on, and they're about to die. And that's how I feel like sometimes, the sense of like I'm a part of something that's ending, and I can't even detect what's outside of me to get cues as to how it's ending, where it's ending from, why it's ending, when it's ending, and so on. All I know is that I'm just here, and it's very difficult because it's like, is there something I should do? Should I just, like, there are different natural processes that we can take as metaphors for how to go about this, for how to treat this. Maybe we might be like, well, we're like a drop of water returning to the ocean, or we're like a plant or an animal that dies and returns to the soil, or we're like a breath that returns to the air, or like there's always this dissolving or this integrating into a totality, this ending of form, this ending of structure, this ending of process, this returning to chaos, this returning to spaciousness, this returning to infinity, and or it's a returning to nullity, a returning to nothing. And which side you go, these are all like extremes of each other, because we don't know these extremes in life. We know limitations on these, we know stylizations of these, we know these almost illustrated and corresponding images or symbols of processes or events, if that's how you want to mind it. That's kind of the logic I can follow. I can follow a sort of symbolic logic to these things, that at a fundamental level, or at some level, that every process is a metaphor for itself, or a metaphor for other processes, or an illustration, like everything, like the thing and everything is an every illustrates some feature of every, or the every allows there to be an anything. I don't know how to word it. And sometimes I feel like saying all this is so pointless. It just feels like pointless poetics, or it just feels like mental masturbation, or an attempt to articulate something to myself, to catch myself, to overhear myself in the process of thinking, or in the process of speaking, or in the process of living, to catch on to some insight, to arrive at something that directs me or transforms me or orients me or cultivates me, because I don't know how to do it consciously or deliberately. And I guess maybe I'm going too extreme. Maybe I'm too away from the immediate, too away from the mundane. But all I live is the mundane. All I live is the immediate. But I feel like that's not enough. That's not sufficient. At some point, you have to confront these things. And you might feel weighed down. You might feel anxiety from the infinite possibilities, or the infinite ways things can go wrong, or at your death, and the uncertainty, the midnight that eclipses all moons and stars, things like that. Like, whatever poetic way you want to put it. And I've experienced different things where there are times where I experienced a despair. I was pregnant with a despair that wanted to abort its mother. So it's just, I don't know what I'm getting at. I guess I want to express this because I'm pretty sure I'm not the one who feels like this or thinks like this, and it might be useful to somebody. But it's just, there's always some way to go at things, and I guess all we can do is maintain our lives and maintain ourselves now, and develop ourselves, and then give ourselves away, or allow ourselves. There's this weird, I guess, this, how do I put it? It's like you have yourself, but you must be willing to lose yourself at every moment. But you also have to preserve yourself at every moment. You also have to be mindful of yourself at every moment, but at the same time mindful but not self-conscious. So it's just like there are also different stylizations of orientation, stylizations of self-referencing, stylizations of self-forgetting, stylizations of self-encountering, self-transforming, and it's just so fascinating. There's just so much richness. I don't know. I guess I'm just pouring out different things I've noticed in myself and other people, and things I've noticed about life. But anyway, just tell me what you think. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what everything is fully about. But I know some things, but I can't fully articulate it. It's just more of an indication. I can only point at things at some point, or gesture, or sometimes the point of rationality is figure out the limits of rationality. The point of thinking is figure out the limits of thinking. Minding, figure out the limits of the mind. But we can't fully exhaust the mind in our lifetime. We can't fully exhaust the world because we're an unfolding process. So, and then we also decay past our prime too. So there are probably avenues that are closed off. I don't know. It's just an interesting process. We're just a very interesting process of human beings as far as how we're unfolding. Anyway, I've been going on for too long. I said I was going to end this a while ago. I keep doing this for all my videos. But thank you for listening. Bye bye.